Pittsburgh Steelers at home are favored by a point, which I think is pretty interesting. I think the Colts are coming into this one red hot. However, I think that point is due to the absence of T.Y. Hilton being out for this one. Would you agree with that, Dave?
Yeah. T.Y. being out, but Jacoby's still finding ways to win, man. The good thing about this Colts team, they win big, they win ugly. Like Frank Reich has his team prepared. Marlon Mack, Naheem Hines are all producing well. I mean, Eric Ebron might be a big factor in this game because Steelers are giving up some points to the tight ends. Yes. Even though Ebron, if he drops 2, he could get 2. So, I mean, long story short, I think it's Christmas is way too early right now, so Rudolph doesn't know his way. His nose doesn't light up, and I think the Colts take it. I think they win 19-12.
Ooh. Well, there you go. That's a nice little score for you. I love that you brought up Ebron. I think with Hilton out, it's not going to be Zach Pascal. It's not going to be Deion Kane or Paris Campbell. It's going to be Eric Ebron that benefits the most. He and Jack Doyle shared even snaps, even routes last week, and I think that's going to skew slightly in favor of Ebron this week. They know that when they need a big play outside of T.Y., they need to go to the big boy, Ebron, in the red zone. So, unfortunately for the Colts, T.Y. is working against them, also working against them. Pittsburgh has yet to allow more than 14 points to running backs. So, even though Marlon Mack has had 20 touches in just about every game this season, I wouldn't expect a big game out of him. Pittsburgh has been stingy to the running backs. And speaking of running backs on Pittsburgh's side of the ball, James Conner and rookie Benny Snell are expected to miss this game, so Jalen Samuel becomes a pretty strong play. If he's available on your waiver wire, definitely pick him up.
He's the only running back available.
Yeah, they're moving Trey Edmonds to number 2 running back. Trey, the brother of Tremaine and this Tremaine on Buffalo, and then another Trey Edmonds that plays defense for the Steelers. So of the 3 Edmonds brothers, the third, Trey Edmonds, steps up as the number 2 running back for Pittsburgh today. But as I said, Jalen Samuel is a great play for me. Stick him right in there. Expect fringe RB2 numbers from him as a pass catcher and as a rusher. Working against the Colts, unfortunately, they are 0-5 their last 5 games without T.Y. Hilton. So that just goes to show what an impact he has on this team, how important he is when it comes to explosive plays, leadership, and all that. As well as Jacoby Brissett, has held up in this Andrew Luck-less era for the Colts. He definitely shows that they need Hilton to win games. And they're going to need Ebron in a big way to step up if they want to win this one on the road against Pittsburgh. And despite their quarterback problems, Rudolph has had plenty of opportunities to throw the ball. Pittsburgh has given up an NFL low 7 sacks. So although you've got guys like Justin Houston and Jabal Sheard coming after him, Pittsburgh has protected the quarterback pretty well.
Jabal Sheard's on IR now, I thought.
So even though you've got guys like Justin Houston and Kamoko Toure and D'Amico Autry, what would I do without you? Coming after the quarterback. Rudolph showed that after an ugly game last week, or an ugly quarter last week against the Dolphins, he can come back and fire it just as well as he did. With Juju winning 50-50 balls, Deontay Johnson really starting to step up as a number 2 for this team.
Finally.
Dante Moncrief, as I understand, was he moved to IR or released from the team?
Moncrief, I think, is on IR. I haven't seen his name much on the release wire, so I wouldn't say he's released just yet. I have to double check on that.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Deontay Johnson and Juju are both good plays today. Obviously, Juju being the better of the 2. Jalen Samuel, yes. These 2, oddly enough, are 7th and 8th, respectively, when it comes to tight end points given up on the season. 7th and 8th worst, that is. So that's why we say play Ebron. You can play Jack Doyle. On Pittsburgh's side of the ball, play Vance McDonald and enjoy that. Because these teams are giving up just about as many points as you can to the tight end position and fantasy this year. So even though I brought up the Colts being 0-5 without T.Y. Hilton, they do have a pretty good record when it comes to the spread when the line is between negative and positive 3. They are 3-0.
Harris has been playing pretty good for Indy too, man. I wouldn't sleep on him either. They've been leaning on him more and more each week.
I didn't catch that name again.
Paris Campbell.
Paris Campbell, yeah. So we'll see what the young guys can do. They're obviously going to need them to step up between Campbell, Kane, and Pascal. I think Funchess is even starting to work his way back into the lineup. I'm not sure about his practice status, but I did read that he was trying to make a return. So we'll see who the Colts can throw out there. They definitely need someone in a big way to come up in the passing game. Even if they use Nyheim Hines a little bit more in this game, I wouldn't be surprised if Hines has one of the
available at the running back position. It's just like with the Williams-Jones effect for Green Bay, is use one of them as basically that extra chess piece.
Oh, yeah, and I think, like I say, if you're a Nyheim Hines owner, this might be a game to throw him out there if you can, because I think he's going to be utilized plenty with Pittsburgh being so stingy against the run game. Might be hard for Marlon Mack to find much success. When it comes to the point total, when it comes to the spread, when it comes to who's going to win, man, it's tough. Indy has been a real tough team this far, but Pittsburgh has also been showing some real resiliency. That Miami game was a get-right game for them. I'm going to take Pittsburgh, and I actually like that 1-point spread. So I like them to cover, and I like them to win by a point maybe. It might be something like 21-20, and that 40-point over-under could be just about spot on.
Miss Julie Boyd, you have convinced me otherwise to back the Colts. I used to be a hater on Jacoby. I'm not. He's proven me wrong. He won the close game last week, putting Mr. Adam the Leg Vinatieri in position to win the game. So I'm going to take him again. I think the Colts are a serious contender to win the AFC South. I think they're still a really talented team, and I think the Steelers still have a lot of holes.
Yeah,
James Conner's out. Jalen Samuel, we don't know if he's going to be able to handle the load, man. That's the big question.
That is a big question for sure. And is Mason Rudolph, going to be first quarter from last week, or is he going to be the way he played the rest of the game? I know the Colts are not just going to sit in man coverage all game long and make the same mistakes the way the Miami Dolphins did. So it might not be so easy. Luckily, as we talked about the pass protection for the Steelers, they are fortunately been able to keep him upright for the most part. But yeah, shout out to Julie. Shout out to the Colts. Shout out to Jacoby Brissett. And shout out to NC State as becoming a quarterback kind of college. You've been seeing guys like Phillip Rivers, Russell Wilson played at NC State, and now you've got Jacoby Brissett. We'll see what Ryan Finley can do this weekend. And if he produces, then you've got NC State becoming a real quarterback factory down there.
Yeah, man. I can't believe how good he looked in preseason. I'm just upset that Zach Taylor took the route of starting him after the trade block. Like, I really would have liked to see Dalton be sat 3 weeks ago and see if Finley can start. So then if Cincinnati could have got something for Dalton and maybe a team like Chicago could have got a QB or something, it could have happened. But I didn't like they sat him literally the day of the trade deadline, like right after, and hey, we're going to bench you, Andy. Like,
on his birthday.
Yeah, that was like, he was not happy. He came out on Twitter, says it is what it is. I'm just going to go with it, and we'll see what the future holds. So it sounds like he's ready to move on from Cincinnati, folks.
Well, speaking of Finley, Dalton, and the Bengals, we'll have to see them next week. We should have mentioned this at the beginning of the show. Bengals, Falcons, Rams, and Saints all on buys this week, folks. Those are a lot of fantasy relevant players. So if you have not been following along with who to stream, who to go to the waiver wire for, you should have been, because this is a big week for buys. And a lot of guys who need to step up and continue to make that fantasy playoff push for you. Ever so important.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on to the Detroit-Oakland game. You've got the 3-1 Lions heading into Oakland to take on the 3-4 Oakland Raiders. Guys, this is a pretty interesting one. Darius Slay had a full practice Friday. He's expected to play. Trey Carson, who got a lot of work last week at running back for the Lions, has been moved to IR. Does this become a big Ty Johnson game or not? We'll have to find out. This is a real opportunity for him. On the Oakland side of the ball, Trent Brown and Josh Jacobs were a full practice all week long, so they can expect their starting left tackle and their starting running back to be healthy for this one. As far as matchups go on the defensive side of the ball, Oakland is ranked 30th in pass defense. So I personally, in one of my leagues, am playing Matt Stafford over Lamar Jackson with confidence. On Detroit's side of the ball, they are 26th in rush defense. So those of you playing Josh Jacobs can look forward to a big day from him, I do believe. Oakland is the 3-point favorite in this one, guys. How do you feel about Oakland is a 3-point favorite against these Lions, who have come in with a pretty good aerial assault.
I'm going to go ahead, and I'm feeling good about Oakland. You still got Tyrell Williams. You still got Waller. You still got Josh Jacobs, who's in. I mean, there's still weapons there. You got Hunter Renfrow, who showed up. I mean, there's guys there that can move the ball for Oakland. And Oakland, unfortunately, has been getting dinged up in their secondary, so that's kind of their Achilles heel. But Detroit, I know of, is traveling to Oakland and also to Dillon. Take into account they said Matt Stafford is sick with the flu. So traveling with the flu, jet lag, maybe it gets to him. I'm taking Oakland by 4. I think they win 28-24.
Well, that's rather upsetting because I'm starting Stafford today. Are you telling me this guy didn't take a flu shot back in the day? What's going on?
No, it's been reported. He's got the flu, and even on the plane, they had him in the back towards the bathroom, so that way if he needed to throw up, he could. That's
my
what
God.
Lions reporters are saying.
Are you telling me his parents down there in Georgia are one of those anti-vaxxers?
I have no idea if they are. All I know is Stafford's got the flu, folks, so don't be surprised if you see a rough game from him. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the flu tends to get to some people, and some players tend to step up when they're sick. So we'll see which side comes out.
One thing I'll say about Stafford, he's one of the tougher quarterbacks I've seen play this game.
Oh, yeah, he definitely is. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but I gotta see him play through some adversity like this. Like, I understand he can play through toughness, but it's about performing through it and doing well.
Well, I'm certainly hoping he can play. Kenny Galladay owners are hoping that he can play. Kenny Galladay has 3 100-yard games this season. Oakland has allowed 5 100-yard games this season. Should be a big day for Kenny G. Might even be a big day for Marvin Jones Jr. Oakland also giving up a lot of points to the tight end. So if there was ever another week for TJ Hawkinson to show what he's got since that first big week 1 against Arizona, this is the matchup to do it. Matt Patricia, as far as the Vegas Nugget goes, is 5-0 against the spread on the road versus teams entering with losing records. So it might be smart to put your money on the Lions in this one.
We'll see. We will see.
I actually am going to take Detroit. I think that even though everything you brought up was Stafford's flu situation and, like I said, Trey Carson being on IR, I think that Stafford still plays and he plays well against this Oakland pass defense that has been a real sieve. And I know Detroit has not been much better on the defensive side of the ball. We talked about Derek Carr earlier as a streaming option over Lamar Jackson. He could be just as good. I mean, I know Slay is slated to go, but you've still got Renfrow stepping up. You've still got Darren Waller, who should be a huge factor in this game.
2 underrated signings for the Raiders this week. They were trying to land a couple linebackers on the trade block, but they went ahead and signed 2 to their linebacker core you might see starting differently this week. It is Brandon Marshall, their linebacker they cut earlier this season. They feel they could have had him play better than what the linebackers have been producing, and also Will Compton, the linebacker who played for San Fran for a long time and was on a lot of bad teams, had a couple good years. So you might see a different linebacker for this week against Detroit. Who knows? Especially with the depleted running game for Detroit. My thing is, Dillon, is now Kerryon Johnson went down. The whole point of Bevel coming in was to provide a running game for Stafford. You just lost your horse, and now you're trying to run with ponies. So if they're going to try and go back to their old way and put it all on Stafford, what's going to happen? Stafford puts up 24 points and Oakland puts up 28. I mean, that was the story for like 7 years for Detroit, was there was no running game. Well, it's back to that now.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, it's you almost have to now with Kerryon being moved to IR. You kind of have to shift to putting it more on Stafford's shoulders. And like you said, it's not been a recipe for success overall for the team. Yeah, Stafford has always put up good fantasy numbers. He's always had good stats. I don't know if it's going to, let's get into this later because I know it's going to make both of your guys' jaws drop, but stats might even get him into the Hall of Fame. So we'll see.
Calm down.
as far as that goes. But yeah,
If Eli gets in, then yes, I completely agree. Stafford would get in because